Now, part of the difficulty of understanding modularity is when a person will get stuck in one module. Now, actually, they will have other modules, but they will begin to base their interrelationships with people on one module. And that is quite easy. I'm sure that everybody has already seen this. Someone will get stuck in the nurturing parent role and will say, I only want to help you. I have your best interests at heart, dear and darling. I mean, can't you understand that I see what you're doing and I'm trying to help? That person's a pain in the tush. But some people, their primary way of relating is, I want to help you. It assumes that they've got massive information. They're usually the older child that does this. Now, some people, and I'm sure you've seen this, get stuck in just being the playful child who fantasizes and just goes around happy, happy, happy. It's a phony happy in the great main. And they just are continually exhibiting, oh, what fun I'm going to have today. What pleasure I'm having. I'm doing this. It's just so wonderful. Philosophically, they're called hedonists, but for the observer, they're called a little child that keeps repeating them. My wife and I recently saw a movie that we think may be one of the best of all time. It's called August, Osage County. And one of the women in this movie just wants to play, and she falls in love, and as one of them says, this is her squeeze of the year. And so she falls in love, and she's just so magical. And she's, oh, this man is going to take her to Belize. He's going to take her down to the Caribbean. It's going to be so wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And the other people can look at this guy and think he's only after one thing. He's a user. He moves from woman to woman. But this little blithe spirit is just, oh, everything's great. So you can see these major stuck places. Now, I'm not denying that the person has other spaces. The one that's always in the I want to help you may be very smart in other areas of identity. The one who is in the playful child may be very effective in some things. But I'll mention a third, and that is the one that gets into the scientific role. There used to be a set of videos about spaceships where there was one man who was always about the facts. There was no emotion shown in his face whatsoever. He only wanted to hear data. He did not want to deal with anything else that flurries of people's opinion. So you've seen this. You, the observer, have seen, I want to help you. You've seen, oh boy, boy, boy. And then you've seen the scientist. I will mention one that has always bugged me and bring out Darwinian disgust in my personality. And that is a person you see in basic mainline Protestant churches. My wife and I have a lot of experience in those kind of churches. I might say a lot of negative experiences with this particular type person. He is the critical parent. He knows what is right. He was given his business, and he did improve it, but he's the richest person in church. He knows what is true, good, beautiful, final about everything in the world. He doesn't want any changes in the church. And so if the organist plays some Charles Ive thing that flitters around with various pieces of hymns, he will go and talk to that organist and say, that's not allowed in this church. If he sees somebody wanting to make a change in Sunday school or whatever, he knows best. As one of these guys told me, he wants a church exactly the way Jesus experienced it in the first century. He said this with a straight face to me. But if the minister dares to change one thing, this rich, critical person will come down on the minister. Don't you change. anything about the order of service. The Lord Prayer goes right here. That goes right there because that's the way it was in my childhood. This person is a control maniac. They got it by inheritance. And if you listen to them very long, they'll talk about exceptionalism because they think they are in the rare air of being the exceptional person. I don't like critical parents types, and they ruined a large portion of my wife's life and my life as we stayed within the church thinking that if we be reasonable, if we be loving, then all this stuff would work out. It did not work out, and the problem quite frequently was one person and he would get several people following, who would say, we're not making any changes. You preach the way I know is right. You say the scripture verses that I know are correct. Now, he had not studied. He had not gone through Greek and Hebrew and learning Old Testament and New Testament. He had some little bitty formula, but he would try and jam that church in that. I live in a community now in Colorado, and I've seen people leave one church and form a new church based on what this one guy, usually who gets other people to join with him and then convinces some other people that he is presenting the right and true way. Well, if I show disgust in my face, believe me, I feel it. I want to scrunch up my nose, twist my mouth, and say, this guy stinks. He is hurting the gospel of love and reason and truth that has been beneficial to people all across the centuries. But there's all across the centuries, there's been weird people too, who get their little piece of truth, like Mani and Manichaeism, and say, this is right. So I best stop before I get angry.